morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We are on episode 58. It is New Year Day. It is January 1st. We're going to be recapping the NFL Sunday with the Monday Night Football, talk about how we did betting there, and then recap last night's Fiesta Bowl with what we expect for today's college football playoff games, and then finish with our betting for that. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but there is a lot to recap, so let's get started. But let me bring on my co-host, Mr. Tim Cook. How you doing today?
Doing good. I'm excited about the three games that we're going to have today, and we had some really good games Sunday, and even last night.
Agree. Yes. Let's get started with that Sunday games. Packers versus Vikings. It is damn time to put some respect on the Vikings name. All these people I saw, Packers. Packers are playing good ball, but they're not playing the Minnesota Vikings ball, okay? So stop it. Sam Darnold has a great game. Justin Jefferson has a catch that nobody's going to talk about because of the holding.
Yeah.
The defense stepped up when it needed to. Now, I will say this. They let him back in that game. And if they don't have the type of game that they have in the beginning of it with, Josh Jacobs fumble to get him going and stuff like this might be a different talking point. But the Vikings are for real, okay? I don't know if they're Super Bowl caliber team, but they look good enough to make a run or to be a threat in the NFC North. Definitely with whatever's happened in the Eagles side as well. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, like you talked about, the Jacobs fumble was big early. I thought that was really big. But then, they had to miss field goal for Ricard had to miss field goal. It's just like, oh, here we, you let him off the hook. But then, Darnold was just dealing. I mean, he was dealing. And that touchdown to Naylor for 7-0 lead, boy, that was huge. That was huge to get him up 7-0. And the Packers go for it on fourth down, don't convert. It was just like they just didn't seem like they were. They just weren't into it until the second half. And then once the second half hit, that would make me nervous as a Vikings fan. That would make me nervous how they let him back in the game that early, in the second half. That would make me a little bit nervous. But I tell you what, he was Flores had very good defensive scheme for them, and he was going right after Love.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, the second half wasn't great, but that's what the Packers has kind of been known about this whole year. I mean, just even think about the first time they played each other, it was 28-0. Vikings were up, and the Vikings let them back in. Yep. And Vikings do that, and yes, that is one thing where in the playoff time, you can't allow that shit to happen. Now, at the same time, I think you get on that kind of big of a lead, you might be running away with it. And I think now, looking at it, what team, either Lions or Vikings, having the home field advantage, that is two huge home field advantages. If the Lions get it, they have a great way to get into the Super Bowl with that home field advantage. If the Vikings get it, they are a serious threat. I mean, I think playing in that dome, you saw it. It got loud. Green Bay kind of got behind the sticks. I think the biggest thing for the Vikings, though, going forward is you have to keep that second half to a minimum. You got to you can't just play prevent defense and let these little passes come, because there was one where I think it wasn't Wicks, Dobbs. Like he had like a 3-yard separation right at the goal line. It was like, what are we doing? Like, why are we allowing that? It's also different regular season playoffs, things like that. But I'm just tired of not hearing about the Vikings and when they talk about the NFC North or the NFC. I'm sorry, the NFC. When they don't talk about the Vikings, how about Sam Darnold getting on the players' shoulders?
The post game. Yeah.
And then the coach O'Connell's just sitting there smiling like, that's my boy.
Just let him go. Let's let him go. Also, Ricard missed a couple of field goals that could have came back and bite him in the ass as well. So I mean, you got to. I know he's a rookie, but you got to get that straightened around too as well.
Well, and I think that's these are the moments of the high pressure. So let's get them out now. Let's make it now so that when we get to playoff time, you stop worrying about it, because it kind of feels like we're going to be in a dome no matter what. At this point now, we're not going to be.
And you know what, Anthony, another thing too is I think that Vikings defense, I think he schemes different when they're at home compared on the road.
Yeah.
I think he does a lot more blitzing at home than he does on the road. It just seems like his scheme of defense, Flores' defense, he schemes a little bit different. And then that home field crowd, Yeah, I think they're definitely a different team at home than they are on the road.
Well, Bill Belichick actually said this, and I heard this, that the play clock is on the field. So it's an advantage to the D line because they can see it. And that's why he blitzes so much, because with the sound, they have to do clap or they go off the time. And so then the defense gets right after him. I definitely think so. But, I mean, the Vikings got to run it this year because Flores is most likely gone. He's going to be somewhere.
Yep.
And you don't know what you're going to do with Sam Darnold yet. I mean, at this time, I was like, well, just let him go and let the coach bring up another guy, right? And then you see the players have him on their shoulders. It's like, you got to sign him. You got to sign him, or you got to franchise tag him. One or the other.
I think you franchise tag him. I don't think you sign him because what's going to cost you is $50 to $60 million. It's going to cost you big money to re-sign him, and you've only done it for 1 year. Do it another year, and then see where you're at. I don't think you sign him to a big deal. I really don't.
Well, I guess you kind of see how the year ends, right? You win the Super Bowl, you're not going to be sitting here saying don't sign him. You're going to sign him.
Right.
But at the same time, I do think it's hard because then you get into a Daniel Jones situation where you got a guy that maybe isn't that good.
Right.
I don't see that happening. I think the way he's played this year, but let's move to the other game, Sunday night game. Kind of didn't think it was going to be that close of a game. Came into overtime. The two rookies deal it out against the Falcons versus Commanders. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, the first possession for Penix, interception. And he was playing against a different defense compared to the Giants defense, not very good.
Yeah.
And now he's going against this Washington defense that's really good. And and he threw that interception right off the bat. And then Daniels, they were getting that Zacchaeus going early and often against his old team. And it was 7-0. Robson gets into a while. They end up getting up 14-7 at one time against them. And they looked in trouble a little bit. Washington did. So it was just like, they had to get back to where they were supposed to do. Daniels had a hell of a game. I mean, he was dealing. I mean, he had over 160 yards rushing, 120 yards rushing. That was a hell of a game. But, they had different players playing too as well for Washington. I mean, you could tell that Robinson was not, his running back, Robinson wasn't doing anything. So they went to like Rodriguez, and it was kind of a different game. But you know what? Penix showed me that I think he might be the real deal, because they brought him right back down at the end of regulation, and he drove him and got him pitched the ball to tie the game. I mean, I think he might be the real deal.
I agree. I think when we saw him against the Giants, everyone's like, oh, and it was like, now good defense, and he did look good. I mean, don't get me wrong, make these rookie mistakes, but name a rookie that ain't making those mistakes. Oh wait, Jane Daniels. I mean, yes, against the Eagles, he made had 5 turnovers or whatever, but it was one of these games where Jane Daniels just again showed he's a rookie of the year. He's the rookie of the year, the offensive rookie of the year, whatever. But like the way he just at the end, it was like put the team on his back. Now, I don't understand why what Washington was kind of doing with like sitting some players and sitting not. Like, wouldn't you want to sit your franchise quarterback? But you're not in the playoffs yet. You weren't in the playoffs, so you had to win that game. I didn't really understand that whole philosophy. Obviously, when it went to overtime, Atlanta, you're not getting the ball. You got to stop them, and you weren't stopping them. But at that time of the year, I did think when I first started watching the game, I was like, does Washington kind of think they're already in the playoffs? Like Tampa Bay won. They're not in the playoffs because Atlanta just came out and just started handling them. And I'm like, obviously second half becomes a whole different story with Washington. Jane Daniels, I hope he doesn't have a CJ Stroud where he looks really good rookie year, second year, sixth step back. But I do think they, outside of McLaurin, they do need to kind of get another weapon, maybe just to help him in the future. I don't see the Commanders being a strong team in the playoffs. I think they could be handled by either the Eagles, the Vikings, or Detroit. But don't be surprised because the way Jane Daniels came back in the second half, if you give him some time in the playoffs, he could be a little run for your money there.
Well, and another too, like towards the end of the game, Penix makes that 4th and 11 throw, which was an awesome throw. And then they go to the Wildcat and they hike the ball over the guy's head. It's like, oh, what are you doing? So that really brings them even farther back, and they still made the touchdown. It's like, wow. I mean, I think Atlanta, future-wise, with all them weapons, I think Penn can get them going with all them weapons they have.
Well, and there was a lot of conversations after the game about, do you keep Rasheem Morris or whatever, the head coach for that win? I think that's a bad situation because you did play Penix this year, so you got his. But I think you do have to move on from him if you do expect Atlanta to go to the playoffs, make a run for a Super Bowl, things like that. Now that you have your franchise quarterback, go get a franchise coach. You kind of just put him in here to be a temporary coach, interim coach, and that stuff like that, because he wasn't supposed to be the future.
Right.
But then he just kind of got the job, and they got Kirk Cousins. They're like, okay, I think you got to get rid of him because I don't like that play calling. That play calling was like, what the hell are you doing? You take 3 steps forward and then 1 step back. You can't do that to a rookie quarterback. Yeah. And we got to remember, he's a rookie this year, but he's kind of in the first half of the season next year, a rookie too. Right. He's in all year, where you saw these other quarterbacks like Bo Nix and all them kind of get better as time goes on. You brought him in the last 3 games. So now he's going to have to take a step. You're going to have to be gentle with him at the start of next year.
Yeah. Well, and also, too, Daniels was getting his tight end, Ernst, second passing touchdown. Hey, Bears fans or Bears organization, you do have a tight end. Use them. Yep. And don't worry, they did in Washington. They're starting to use Ernst which Ernst came from Arizona, that's where the OC came from as well. So they kind of know. I mean, we all thought that Ernst was kind of washed up. Maybe not so much, because I tell you what, Daniels used him a lot in this game as well. So, I mean, for a rookie quarterback, you need to use that check down person like Ernst, like your tight end, Cole Kmet. You've got to start using him to be effective.
Well, I mean, look at Kyle Pitts.
Right.
I didn't know Kyle Pitts still played in the NFL, actually. Until Penn. So I do. I think I definitely agree with that. And then your running backs. Your running backs got to be strong and be able to take hits, because they're going to get checkdowns that are going to get smoked, or they're going to be running the ball 20, 25 times a game.
And Daniels had 227 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, plus 127 yards rushing. I mean, he had the awesome game.
Yeah, no, that was definitely the game for him. But in the rest of the NFL, on Sunday we had the Bills versus the Jets. The Bills win 40-14. The Raiders beat the Saints 25-10. The Colts lose to the Giants 45-33. The Cowboys lose to the Eagles 41-7. Buccaneers lose to the Panthers 48-14. Jaguars lose to the Jaguars beat the Titans 20-13. Dolphins beat the Browns 20-3. Vikings win over Packers 27-25. Commanders beat Falcons 30-24. And the Lions play their starters and win 40-34. What other games came up this weekend you thought about?
Barkley had he got 2,000 yards, and rushed for 167 yards in the win. He only needs 101 yards to get the record, which we'll see if how much he plays next Sunday. Mayfield goes off for 359 and 5 tutties, 5 touchdowns. Jets get smoked. I mean, this game wasn't even close. It was 40-0 at one time. Jets had 15 penalties. They're a mess, a hot mess. Yeah. Most points given up in 3 years. Giants dropped 45. What are you guys doing? Jets 8 or Giants? What are you guys doing? You had the number 1 pick. Now you're dropped down to the number 4 pick. Yeah. So I mean, and then you had Goff going off for 303 and 3 touchdowns. And Gibbs had 117 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah,
for the Monday night game.
Definitely agree. I mean, the Jets and Bills. I mean, Aaron Rodgers doesn't score a touchdown the whole game, and then they bring in Tyrod Taylor and they get 2 garbage time touchdowns.
Yeah.
But
this game wasn't even close.
It was just one of those things where it's like maybe they're better without Aaron, because just even on that situation,
right?
The Colts, you said, what are the Giants doing? What are the Colts, man? What happened? Pat McAfee obviously puts out that tweet that gets everyone involved in the organization. I mean, it was a whole paragraph, a goddamn book. But I mean, just accountability. I mean, this game was you're lurking, you're waiting to get in, and you lose to the Giants. And at the same time, what the hell are you doing, Giants? Like, I mean, do you not want Shedeur? Because Shedeur wants to go to you. So now you may have to trade up to get them. Like that one. The other one with the Cowboys and Eagles, I laughed because Parsons said they were a couple of plays away from being a close game. Bro, it was 41-7. The third-string quarterback came in and threw a touchdown pass.
Right.
That was not a close game. Shouldn't have bet on you bitch asses either. And then Lions, I love it. I love it. Play all your starters. Let them get some bumps and bruises and play all that, because the game that freaking matters is this weekend.
Yeah, next weekend. Yeah,
it was stupid playing that way. You know what? Hey, you got your redemption against them because they took you out in the playoffs last year. So I hope that feels good. But now you may be on the possibility of going on the road because you guys didn't. I don't know. Yeah. I hope they lose just to like. But if they win, Dan Campbell's he's the guy, whatever. Yeah. If they lose this weekend, we'll see. This upcoming week for NFL Sunday will be great, which we'll bring that up. But we got to get to the college football. Oh, wait. Before we do that, how did you do on betting on Sunday?
I was 1-2. I took Carolina getting the 9. Yeah, they got smoked. The Raiders giving the 2.5. I won on that one. And then the Jets and Buffalo getting the 9 or 10, I think it was. Yeah, they got. I mean, that wasn't even a game.
Yeah, that one. I thought Jets would give more of a fight because I
did too.
Play for it, but I went 2-1. I had the under for the Raiders versus Saints. Got close. Got a little. I think I had 35. Didn't love that. Right. I took the Lions minus 3.5. I did not think about them not playing because that's what we have to start thinking about. Well, Dan Campbell proved me right, and they went out and won that game by 6. And then I took the Cowboys plus 7.5. Thinking, hey, they got to back up, and
Right.
No. Cowboys decide to just shit the bed and suck that game. One other thing I wanted to bring up before we move on from the NFL. Did you see that Kenny Pickett throw?
Yeah.
Not throw that spun him around. Jesus Christ, man. What? That looked like shit. Like, I mean, you're in the NFL. Like, and I get the angle. There's one angle that kind of shows that he gets hit, and that's why he was holding on to it. But he spins around, and then Saquon grabs the ball and just lays on the ground. I was like, that's an NFL quarterback for you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up 2-1. Let's move to the college football playoffs. We had last night the Fiesta Bowl. Penn State versus Boise State. Ashton Denty versus that defense. How are they going to perform? Well, that defense stepped up. They played him very well, I guess, on that, or not guess, but they played him really well. I mean, I think he had 102 yards or 100-some yards with 30 carries. Wasn't a type of game that you thought Genty was going to have. But the quarterback stepped up. The quarterback did well, but he had to go perfect for this game. I still think in the third quarter, there was a hands to the face where it was a touchdown pass. It would have been 24-21. That was when the game changed the whole other way because they end up going to kick a field goal, don't get any points out of it because they missed the field goal. And then Penn State goes down later on, and I don't think it was the next drive, but it was a couple more drives, and they score a touchdown. It was out of the game. But if they would have went 24-21, and Boise State had that second half, and really at the end of the first half, they started bringing it back. But what did you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, this game kind of started. Boise State missed the field goal after not going for it on fourth down, which I think they should have went for it on fourth down because you don't want to give that team any momentum whatsoever. And then they missed it. And then, I mean, Penn State just went right down, scored. Next thing you know, it's 14-0. You go thinking, oh, this could be a runaway game. But you know what? I think Boise State kind of found their footing kind of in that second quarter. They found where they could play with. They thought they could play with them. And they did play with them for a little bit. But I think they just wore them down at the end. I mean, it was just Genty had 2 fumbles. One was lost. He's had 2 fumbles all season long. And he had 2 in the first half. That's key, especially that one, the first one, where the guy he fumbles it and he catches it and then puts his 2 feet in bounds and gets the ball. I mean, that was a big turnover, I thought. But like we said in our previous podcast, Aller had to get Warren going, and he did. I mean, there was a lot of deep throws. That throw for the second touchdown, make it 14-0. Man, he threw off his back foot and still just threw a dime to him. A perfect throw. I thought, geez, Louise, if he's got that all that time and he could do it that way all the whole game, this could be a blowout early.
But he didn't do it again.
No, he didn't. He did.
And every time they did it, and there was a couple times where Boise State should have picked it off. And Warren, I mean, he has that first touchdown, obviously, right? And then I feel like he was just kind of taken out of this game for the second half. I mean, he wasn't that huge. I mean, he did have a couple catches, but he dropped a couple too.
Right.
But go on.
And I think that big run by the running back for Penn State at the end, that was a killer. We were texting back and forth. It was almost over, but then I thought for sure, because I bet on this one to take Penn State in plus a 12, and I thought there's going to be a backdoor cover because they were going right down the field. But they seemed like when they got down to about the 20 right at the end, and they intercepted right in the end zone, it was over then. But it just seemed like they played all these teams play that prevent defense, and if you're a betting person, you just like, oh, here we go, here's a backdoor cover, but they didn't, and they intercepted, and the game was pretty much over.
Yeah, I didn't really worry about the backdoor cover when they ran the ball. They ran like there was less than a minute left. Ran the ball. I get you're trying to get Genty to a little bit, but the game's over, boys. Throw it in the end zone or just like knee it. Either. So when they ran the ball, it was like, okay. And then obviously he throws a jump ball, which was going to get picked off anyways. I was surprised by Boise State. I thought they played a better game. I mean, everyone was talking about what teams deserve to be in here. Alabama gets beat to Michigan yesterday, and it looked like most of the starters for Alabama played. Jalen Milroe played. Michigan had some injuries and stuff like that. They had backup people playing. I didn't see Edwards and all them playing. Michigan beats them. Okay, what about South Carolina? South Carolina plays Illinois, and Illinois beats them. Now, South Carolina did have a defensive player that didn't play the second half because of the draft and blah, blah, blah. But Illinois beat them. So, okay, was South Carolina supposed to be in there? Oh, wait, what about Miami? Miami was supposed to be in there. Miami loses. Now, Cam Moore doesn't play the second half, but they lost to Iowa State that Arizona State has made look like a fool in the Big 12 championship.
Right.
I think the college football playoffs got it right. I think the committee got it right with the teams. I don't agree with how the playoffs are set up, and we'll talk other future podcasts. But the teams that got in deserve to be in.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and also too, we were talking off air about the ticket prices and stuff like that. They're guaranteed for next year, I think, where they're at the neutral sites. But after that, it has not been guaranteed yet. I could see them for these quarterfinals getting home games. The 4 best teams are going to get home games, just like they did on the previous games. Because of these ticket prices, I could see them doing home games for the 4 best teams.
Yeah, I don't see it just because that's not NCAA's money, and NCAA's money is in these when they go to these these games instead of that.
Right.
Them being like, oh no, don't worry, we'll get a contract signed. But I do agree with that because we saw the advantage of that first week of having home games.
Right.
It gives now the advantage to these 4 seeds, which whatever. But I thought Boise State played really well. I thought they played this game really good. The quarterback played played good against a great defense. Yeah. Now, Penn State did lose their best player on defense. He didn't play that second half.
I noticed that. Did he have a leg injury or something, or what?
Shoulder. So with his left arm, they were trying to put it up. But so if he's out, that defense is a little bit more vulnerable.
Right.
I think Boise State's more vulnerable after watching that game. I'm sorry, Penn State's a little bit more vulnerable. After watching it, I was like, they either throw it deep or they run the ball. Well, if you play a team like which you're going to play, either Georgia or Notre Dame, they're going to stop the run.
Right.
They're going to stop you. They're going to contain your running. They're not going to stop it, but they're going to contain it. Okay. So you're going to be able to throw the ball. I will say this: if Notre Dame can get past Georgia, they're in the national championship because I think they're way better than Penn State after watching it. Now, we'll see how Notre Dame looks tonight. Nope.
Yeah. Right.
But I just think when I saw Penn State play against SMU, I was like, holy shit. Penn State might be a team and they just got off playing against Oregon. When they played Boise State, it was like, you maybe not that good. Right. Because you should have blown them out of the water.
Yeah.
But I thought Boise State did well. They kept the momentum on their side a little bit as well. So I did bet that game too. I lost that one because they didn't backdoor cover. I was actually just surprised that it was that close. I was hoping for a close game.
Right.
You take away that long run at the end, it was a pretty damn close game.
Yep, I agree.
Well, let's move on to our New Year's Day games. We got 3 games. We got College Game Day this morning. We got the 3 games: Texas versus Arizona State, Oregon versus Ohio State, Georgia versus Notre Dame. But let's start right off the top. Texas versus Arizona State. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, Texas coming off the big win against Clemson 38-24, which they had to lead at one point 31-10. Arizona State coming off the bye. Their last game was a blowout against Iowa State 45-19. Last time these two teams played was in 2007 in the Holiday Bowl, in which Texas won 52-34. I think the key for Texas will be can they stop that running attack of Cam Scatterbo? I mean, if they don't, it could be a long day for Texas. I think they have and also their running attack. Their running attack when they play Clemson, they had two 100-yard runners in that game. So can they get that back going again? Texas defense, they'll have to clean up that defense. They give up 24 points against Clemson. I think the key for ASU, how much rust are they going to have? You could tell last night in the Boise State game, Boise State had a little bit of rust too as well.
Yeah.
Can Arizona State clean up that rust before, and get Cam Scatterbo going?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think the key matchup in this is the defense of Texas. Texas' defense has been very consistent throughout the year and very pass-oriented offenses and also running attacks. I think Arizona State is coming into the best defense that they've seen all year, because when you're in the Big 12, you don't see that good of defense. So now you're going against a defense that is SEC bled. I mean, just a really good defense. I think for Texas, you just got to limit the turnovers. I mean, Quinn Ewers can't have turnovers. I think you're going to see a little bit more of Arch Manning in the package deals. This we've talked about in the past.
Yeah,
Arch Manning coming in here a little bit more for more of a running attack, holding on possession of the ball. I don't understand how Texas had this easy of a route. I mean, their next game is going to be hard, whoever they have to play. But like they go against who they play the first game? Clemson. And then Clemson really shouldn't have been in there. They're only because they won the ACC tournament. And then now they go against Arizona State. It's like, wait, Notre Dame was, should have had this route, but whatever. But I think they handled this one. And I think, a big one too is Arizona State's without their best defensive back, Shamari Simmons, in the first half.
Because they had the targeting, right.
In the Big 12, which now you're kind of sitting there being like, well, I wish we would have played last week so you can get that out of the way instead of this week. I just think Texas is going to be too quick, too fast, too big, and they're just going to handle this game. I wanted to go with the dog in this one, but I'm obviously going to go the opposite on that one.
You know what? I am going to go with the dog. I think ASU is going to keep it close, keep it closer than the 13 points. I think they could. I don't think they're going to win, but ASU's getting 13 points. I like ASU in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas. I really just thought, I've switched back and forth multiple times on it. I went to Texas. I went to ASU, and I'm like, well, can ASU get a backdoor cover? Can ASU do this? I don't like the money line, the over-under. I don't like that on this one because I don't know what defense is Arizona State going to come out and blast. I just think what we saw last week is your conference competition matters a lot.
Yeah.
And Texas hasn't beat any great teams, but they beat a lot of good teams. So I think they beat this good Arizona State team. That moves us to the second game, the afternoon game, which probably is the best game of the today. Oregon versus Ohio State. It's a rematch of October 12th. Will the week off for Oregon be the type of rust that Ohio State needs to win this game? Or with all this time off, is Oregon going to have enough energy and enough rest to just give Ohio State the ass beating that everyone wants? Nobody wants Ohio State to win. I don't care. If you're an Ohio State fan, you kind of want to lose and get rid of Ryan Day and all that shit too. But I think Tez Johnson, he's going to be the big factor in this game.
Yeah.
The DBs for Ohio State are great. They can hold people, but can they make sure that they cover everyone? Because Oregon has a lot of targets on the side. On the other side, Ohio State has probably the best receiving core, and maybe you could say receiving wide receiver because they bring out so much great talent with Mbuka. They got that Jeremiah Smith. They got a couple other guys. Can Oregon shut down this? I think this is going to be a high-flying game. It's in a warm temperature. It's going to be the ball's going to be thrown. Dylan Gabriel needs to protect the ball. Well, I think Will Howard on the other side, don't slide with 3 seconds to go, bud. So you don't. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Ohio State coming off the big win against Tennessee, where they just smacked them right in the mouth, and then Oregon, they're coming off the big win against Penn State in the Big Ten championship. I think if Ohio State comes out and does what they did against Tennessee, I think this could be a very interesting game. I mean, they came out and just smacked Tennessee right in the mouth. I mean, it was 21-0, and you didn't even get your popcorn out yet. So, I mean, that's the biggest deal. And also, too, Oregon's going to kind of have a little, could possibly have a little rust, too, as well. They haven't played in almost a month. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the biggest deal. They got to get the passing game going. Oregon does. I mean, if they can get that going with Gabriel and that to Tez Johnson, like you said, I think this is going to be a very high-flying game.
Yeah, for me, I'm taking the over of the 55.5. Now, bettors, live bet this one. Okay, I would not bet this one immediately, and here's why. Every bowl game starts out a little slow, right? Starts out just like teams are trying to see, definitely with these heavyweight matches like these two teams, right? You see it in the national championship all the time. They kind of just like maybe get a little bit. That's when that point spread or that over and under is going to go down a little bit. Then hit that over. I still like it at 55.5 because I think the way that both teams can throw the ball and with the receiving cores that they both have, they're going to get going. They go quick to the line. I like the over 55.5. What about you on this game?
You know what? This will be just the fifth time since 2022 that Oregon is a underdog.
Yeah.
I like Oregon getting the 2.5 points. I really do. I mean, anytime Oregon can get points, take it. Take it and bet it hard.
Well, I think you said it right. I think everyone's like, well, look, did you see what Ohio State did to Tennessee? Did you see that? It's like, it was a field game.
And I think that's why the spread is what it is.
Yeah. But it was a home field game, right?
Yeah.
And Tennessee had to come to a cold environment. Ohio State had something to prove after their last game was against Michigan and all this bullshit about Ryan Day. So are they going to have the same type of energy? I don't think they will. I truly don't. Yeah. But yeah, I like that one too. I thought about it, but then I'm like, what if Ohio State comes out like they did against
Right.
I'm going to be pissed off like the first 5 minutes of the game because I'm like, what the f is happening?
Yeah, right.
That takes us to the night game, and obviously our most favorite game of the night, Georgia versus Notre Dame. I think this is the game of the day just because I think you're looking at two heavyweight battlers right here, the two names that everyone talks about in college football, Notre Dame, Georgia, blah, blah, blah. Now, Georgia doesn't have the starting quarterback. They're going back with this Gunnar Stockton, little farm boy, got a 4x4 truck. I don't care. You got to play football. Notre Dame has to win the line of scrimmage, offense and defense. Yeah. If they can run the ball on Georgia, they'll be perfectly fine. If they can get towards the quarterback and make him have to make decisions on split-second decisions, he don't have the game experience for this one. I can't wait. I just hope Notre Dame wins, but I can't wait. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key for Notre Dame is you got to get the running attack going like you did last game. Get Love, get Price, even Leonard going. For Georgia, how will Gunnar Stockton handle that front line? I mean, that defense is really good with Xavier Watson at. I think that, and the defense will have to step. And here's the key, too, also. Don't let them back in the game. Yep. You let Indiana back in the game the last time. Don't do that again this time. Don't do it because they will take advantage. Georgia's a lot better than Indiana is. I think without Carson Beck, I think this defense will give Stockton all he can handle. I like Notre Dame on the money line. I really do. Yeah. I think they're gonna. I think that defense is going to give Stockton all he can handle, and they just don't have the weapons like they used to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they do have the weapons. They're just young, so they're not experienced for this moment. Carson Beck going to the NFL was a very big shock. You're coming off a major injury, major surgery, and then you just didn't have the season you thought you were going to have. Also, at the same time, why not come back and get these young receivers that are a little bit more mature, a little bit more experienced, and have the type of year you're supposed to? I just think Notre Dame, right, like the way that their team is set up with stopping the run, their DBs are good enough to make plays on the ball, and then when they get the ball, they want to run the ball and control the clock. I can see this game just going exactly the way. Now, at the same time, I agree with you. They can't let them back in it because that's what Texas did.
Yeah.
Texas let them back in the second half in that in the SEC championship. because Gunner comes out and they score that touchdown, and now the momentum's going Georgia's way. So I definitely agree with that. But this game is the most expensive ticket for the college football playoffs this week, okay? Not last night. Oh, we want to see the ball drop and watch a football game. Nope, that wasn't it. Texas and Arizona State. You could damn near pay $35 to go see this game, okay? Ohio State, Oregon at the beautiful, beautiful Rose Bowl. You can go see that game for a reasonable price. Tonight's ticket is the most expensive ticket for this game. Everyone's got to go back to work tomorrow. So these people are taking days off. You know what I say this is? This is because Notre Dame has the best college football fans. No matter where that game is. Hey, put it out in California. They'll travel and go see that game. Go put it on Florida. They'll go see that game. Go put it in South Bend. We'll pay $1,000 to see the game.
Yeah.
Put it in New York City. You put that goddamn game in Australia, and people are going to go see this game, okay? Maybe they don't have the greatest home field or whatever, but they travel for this game. I think Notre Dame travels to this one. They control the noise as well, even though it's closer for Georgia fans to be there. I think Notre Dame controls the sound. I like this one. I think they can handle this crowd. I like them as well in the money line.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They are the Dallas Cowboys of the NCAA. They're the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NCAA. All their fans travel very well. It doesn't matter. I mean, they have a good alumni, but it's still their fans travel very well. It's plain and simple. That's why the ticket price is what they are.
Yeah, and I'm over here pleading for my wife because if they win this game, the next game's on my birthday. I'm asking if we can go. But we just broke Notre Dame fans. So
right.
But yeah, so that is our bets this week. That is the games. It's going to be a great day. Sit down on the couch, enjoy the day, watch college football. Don't do too much because we all got to go back to work tomorrow, which sucks. But if you do take any of our betting advice, please just remember, we're two goons that are talking college sports and NFL, okay? So please bet responsibly. We will be back on Saturday to talk about the recap of what has happened in college football and the NFL as we're coming into the last week of college or of NFL before playoffs. So if you do like what we do, please like, comment, share. If not, I really don't care. But I want to thank everyone and have a great day. We will talk to you on Saturday.